Hey, welcome back everybody for another round of weekly oil and gas updates, specifically of US oil and gas data. So to start off, price-wise, oil is continuing to recover. It regained another $1.50 upon the release of the weekly US oil production data by the EIA, as the market's knee-jerk reaction to the massive spike of U.S. oil production from those Gulf of Mexico fields coming online 2 weeks ago has finally stalled out and is beginning to reverse. Now, last week's numbers were a increase from 10.25 million barrels a day up to 10.27. This week's numbers are unchanged. It's still at 10.27. Now, technically last week it was at 10.271. This week it actually fell down by 1,000 barrels a day to 10.270. And the WTI, or West Texas Intermediate, price of oil per barrel has recovered from its sudden drop down to $59 a barrel, back up to about $62.50 per barrel. U.S. consumption rates have been remaining basically the same ever since the second week of last month, January, basically fluctuating over the last month and a half or so between 20 and 21 million barrels a day of average consumption for the U.S. as a whole. And as of this week, U.S. crude inventories have resumed dropping. They dropped by just shy of 2 million barrels over this past week. So that dropped them from 421 million barrels in storage down to 419 million barrels. Regarding our natural gas inventories, yet again we had another massive drawdown, roughly 150 billion cubic feet pulled out of the natural gas reserve inventories over the last week or so, dropping the total amount in inventory storage from just under 1.9 trillion cubic feet, about 1.88, down to just above 1.7 trillion cubic feet in storage. This due again continually to cold temperatures continuing to grip most of the lower 48 states, thus causing a continuous demand for natural gas for heating furnaces, as well as a continuous excess demand for power plants running off of natural gas to generate excess electricity for all the homes and buildings that use electric heating. So literally our natural gas consumption is pulling at both ends, basically. Now, market-wise for natural gas, the market continues to be really obstinate and willfully mentally impaired, as even as all these massive supply drawdowns continued, the market just had kept dropping the price over and over and over. And they only just stopped this now with this data release, because basically they got into a pattern of saying, well, we're not going to continue draining the reserve inventories dry. You know, all the cold temperatures will be gone by next week. Then next week came, the colds were still there, and so they basically would repeat themselves, say, well, the cold temperatures will start receding next week. And then same thing happens, well, next week they'll be gone for sure. And then here we are, and the cold is still there. It's almost like it's winter or something. So the market has finally grown a brain, basically, and has actually raised the price of natural gas back up a bit by 8 whole cents. But that's the market, and we made the decision a long time ago to not have the price directly tied to just supply and demand and have it open to speculations and investment speculators and all this other nonsense. That is your oil and gas data update for this week. I'll be back with another one obviously next week, so if you have any thoughts or anything to say, obviously comment section is there for that down below. like, share, subscribe, and I will catch everybody next time.